Taylor Swift.
Oh, gosh. No, you know what? I respect it because even as a Taylor Swift hater and a Taylor Swift non-believer, you have to respect it.
Massive topic to start off the episode.
Here we go.
The consumption of music.
Yes.
How it has changed, what it looks like today. Like streaming, right, is just huge these days, but it hasn't always been like that.
It's the start of 2025 now. I think this is a good time to reflect on 2024 and things that happen in music.
Actually pretty huge.
Pretty huge,
yeah.
In general, internationally.
Yeah.
So maybe we start off with our favorite albums of last year.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm just going to go straight out the back and say that you can't talk about favorite albums or best albums of last year and not talk about Charlie XCX's Brat.
Yes, you can.
I really don't think you can.
I think you can, personally. It's a great album.
It's a great album.
Great album. Don't get me wrong. Cultural impact. Yes.
And I think that's the thing. It left an impact on the entire world. That color green, that'll never be anything other than associated with an album.
That's bright green.
How epic is that? Yes. That's so cool.
That's true.
And the Brat, and it's entirely different, but it's still Brat. Like her remix album?
Yeah.
So clever. It's like the same album, but completely different.
Almost like that's what it's titled of.
Yeah. But some awesome feature artists. Yeah, big fan.
My first one is Negative Spaces by Poppy.
Yeah, okay.
Became a big Poppy fanboy last year as I begin my journey into metal and heavy music. And Vana, because, it's been her being one of my good friends.
Yeah, nice.
Around that kind of music now. I don't know. I think I just kind of grew an appreciation for it a bit more.
Yeah.
But we were talking about this earlier. I love a good hook in a song, and I think every single song on that Poppy album just has the most amazing hooks that just get stuck in your head every time. And I love females in metal music.
Same.
And I don't know. I think the evolution of her as well, from being that robot chick.
The robot? That blew my mind. I need to go deeper into that rabbit hole because I'm so fascinated by it.
It's such a weird era of her life.
Yes.
But I was first introduced to her on that Knock Loose song.
Yeah.
With Suffocate with Poppy. I think Will showed me that in the car one day, and I was just like, yo, what the heck is this? This is sick.
Okay, now that's a good shout. I need to further appreciate the Poppy album or listen to it more, I think.
Exclusively produced by Jordan Fish from Bring Me the Horizon, bro. Production is amazing.
Thank you for that segue, because did you know that my next top album from 2024 is Posthumous Next Gen by Bring Me the Horizon. I'm a big Bring Me fan. I'm a big Ollie Sykes fan. I love Bring Me. So that
What is it about them?
For me, it's a good question. I think they
Is it like nostalgia?
Yes and no. I think it's nostalgia, but they are also moving with the times so well. I think they're like really honest with their songwriting as well. And I listened to a couple of interviews and podcasts and stuff with Ollie Sykes, and he is just so creative, but also a perfectionist. And I just find him like really fascinating. The way his brain works is super fascinating. But like you, like I love a good hook and a good poppy chorus as well. And I feel like Bring Me like really give me that, like a bit of a breakdown, but then a sing-along chorus. So I love that.
I mean, all those poppy songs, again, very Bring Me the Horizon, I think. Well, I mean, with Jordan being there. So that makes sense.
Exactly. And I got to see them last year as well, live in Brisbane. So that was like that was sick.
Shout out Bring Me the Horizon.
Shout out.
That's my number. This is no order, by the way.
Yeah, no.
It could be, but it's not. Number 2 for me, Gen X, Kendrick Lamar. Again, I think it's after the whole beef situation with Drake, I think everyone was kind of expecting them to both drop albums because, to capitalize off the hype and everyone talking about them. It just made sense. Yeah. And he was the first one to do it. Yeah. But it didn't seem like a rushed album just for the sake of capitalizing off the hype. Mm-hmm. I think it was still a very cohesive, classic Kendrick Lamar album where it's like themes going through it. All the songs make sense if you listen to it chronologically.
Okay.
So like you didn't lose a typical Kendrick album, but it still capitalized off everything, and the songs are good. And again, cultural, bro.
Yeah.
Not Like Us was a massive moment in hip hop history.
True, you're right. Massively cultural. You're right.
Yeah. And then a lot of those songs also had like little digs at Drake still, but this is what it is.
Are you on Kendrick's side? Kendrick versus Drake?
I don't pick sides, but
Oh,
if I
okay.
had to pick one, it would be Kendrick.
Yeah,
Probably.
okay, nice. Yeah,
I just don't think. I don't know. It's tough for Drake to come back from that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, good answer. Shaden would expect me to name Taylor Swift's The Tortured Poets Department as one of the top albums of last year. I'm a massive Swiftie through and through, don't get me wrong. I've loved her since the like country Taylor Swift, like Our Song days. Yeah.
Shaking my head right now.
Tortured Poets didn't do it for me. I'm sorry to all my Swiftie
That's crazy.
friends and fam out there. Yeah.
Why did that album not do it for you? What was it about it?
There's kind of like a couple of sides of being in Taylor Swift fandom. Like you can kind of like her 1989 or Speak Now albums, which are a little bit more like, for lack of a better word, like feel good and happy and upbeat, or like Reputation, or you can be on like the Evermore folklore side or Tortured Poets Department, which are kind of like sad girl vibes, to put it in the most like easiest, most blunt form. And I'm more on the happy side than the sad girl side. Okay. So Tortured Poets was just like 30 songs worth of kind of like
30 songs on that album.
Yeah, the like deluxe edition was.
Oh my goodness. Which version of the deluxe though?
Yeah, no, there's
Wasn't
like
there
40, right? Yeah, I know. But no, so no Taylor Swift, unfortunately. But I am going to name Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter as one of my top albums from last year. Yeah, I feel like she really just, like, obviously she opened for Taylor Swift on the Eras tour last year, and I feel like that
opener,
definitely crazy opener contributed to her rise in fame last year. I know she's been hustling for a long time. Yeah, a long time, like 10 plus years. She's awesome, and she deserves like every minute of her fame. But yeah, Short and Sweet is like a masterpiece. Jack Antonoff is behind a lot of the songs as well. And I feel like, but I also feel like he can't miss. Personally.
You think Jack Antonoff can't miss? He's missed a few times.
I stop. But yeah, Short and Sweet, great album for me.
I do like that album too.
One of those albums, which I feel like maybe we'll cover after this, but one of those albums that I can listen start to finish and have like maybe one skip.
I like the retro vibes, I think. Number 3 for me was No Worries, Why Lord. You know No Worries?
No, I've heard it, but no, I know.
You claim to be a massive Anderson .Paak fan, but you don't know No Worries?
I know.
Well, as a true Anderson .Paak fan myself, I don't know. It's just they haven't done an album together in so long. Yeah. Just kind of brought back those retro vibes from, all the old songs. And I don't know. I feel like Anderson was kind of going down like a poppier route kind of recently. Yes. And I think this was like a real throwback to the hip-hop infused jazz and his raspy voice over those kind of boom bap beats. Yeah, I don't know, it just does something to me.
Yeah, nice. Okay,
shout out Anderson .Paak.
And then I would have to say Glass Animals, I Love You So Fucking Much. They released that last year, and yeah, big Glass Animals fan, but big fan of that record. Again, another like no skip kind of record for me. I feel like they just, again, they're quite like experimental with their music, and if you look into how they make their music, and Dave, the singer, does a lot of the production, and it's really clever. And I feel like their lyrics, like the lyrical content on that album, just really hit for me. Yeah, I'm into it. So that was a good one for me.
I love how different our music taste is, by the way.
I know.
I feel like we get into some very different
we cover a lot of ground.
Chromacopia. Tyler the Creator.
Yeah,
I love that album. I don't know. Tyler's production, I think he's so underrated as a producer. It's like weird. It's like, but it still hits hard, and he just sounds amazing over those types of beats. Yeah. I felt like kind of vintage Tyler. Yeah. As well, a little bit for me. Yeah. Like I love most of Tyler the Creator's albums, but I feel like he really got into like his rap shit. I still loved Call Me If You Get Lost as well. Yeah. But that felt a bit more like mellow. Obviously there was like some different styles of songs on there, but this felt like a proper like rap album to me. Yes.
That song, I'm bad with names, but the song where he speaks about finding out that he was about to become a father, and then she tells it from her perspective. That's like insane on Chromacopia. It's such a good song. Yeah,
I also love Sticky. That's crazy. Glorilla, the most underrated rapper in the game right now.
Yeah. Okay. That's probably, I would say, I've got a couple of honorable mentions. Okay. Chromacopia was on my honorable mentions. Hit Me Hard and Soft, Billie Eilish.
Yep. That was the honorable mention for me too.
Yeah.
It was a great album.
It was a really good album.
I just personally didn't like it as much as these other ones, but
Same. Yeah, same. And that's exactly why it was honorable for me. Angus and Julia Stone, Kate Forestier.
Angus and Julia Stone were one of the first people I ever saw live. That's actually a lie. But one of the first people I ever saw at a festival.
Yeah.
R&V 2016? 2016.
They were at my first Laneway Festival in 2015.
No way.
Yeah.
Did they? Oh, wow.
Buzzy, yeah.
That is so buzzy. I didn't even know they released a new album.
Yeah, Cape Forest, yeah. I, will probably take this to the grave because it was so blimmin' cool. But I went out on a boat last year and heard them play some acoustic songs from their new album. I know, it was so absolutely unreal. I was like a blubbering mess sitting at the back of the boat. There were like 20 of us trying to be real cool. Everyone else was being really cool, and I was just like crying through my sunglasses being like, this is so real. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But that's an honourable mention.
I have two more. Ski Master Slump God, 11th Dimension. Okay. I don't know. It's been so long since Ski dropped an album.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is just my like internal love for Ski Mask and my desire for him to keep dropping more music. I'm either like smooth R&B or like I love like aggressive rap music.
Yeah.
Especially like the real distorted guitars and the 808s and the drums, and I don't know. It felt like he tried some new styles, and it felt like it's still a bit of an evolution of him and his music, but an ode to the old stuff still. And then again, I think there's only like a few songs I don't like on that album too.
Yeah.
And it's built for a live show, that album, and I'm so upset I didn't get to see any of it.
Yeah, that's
live.
Speaking of not seeing things live, another honourable mention, Bad Omens, Concrete Jungle last year. I feel like I'm only just entering my Bad Omens phase. I haven't really been into them for super long. They have just finished their round of Australian shows early this year. Would have been keen to go to that, but just
with Poppy.
Yeah, with Poppy. Yeah, that would have been sick. So that's another honourable mention.
My last album, I guess, is kind of an honourable mention, and I wanted to show some love to local music. I didn't even realize he had dropped an album last year, but David Dallas dropped an album last year.
No way!
I'm a fan of David Dallas. I can't remember, what is it called? Vita.
Oh.
And again, vintage David Dallas.
Yeah. Soul
samples. Yeah. Just the flow is like the same sort of flow.
Love it.
I don't know. It just felt again like a throwback to old David Dallas.
That's cool.
And I think it's really underrated. I guess not a lot of people know he dropped it because the streaming numbers weren't like amazing.
Yeah.
But like, if you go back and listen to it, a lot of great songs on there.
And I've got two honourable mentions. The first of which is Gracie Abrams, The Secret of Us.
Yeah.
Again, I'm kind of only just entering my Gracie vibes, and this is probably a good segue into the next topic, really. But I'm entering my Gracie era because Spotify, which I use as my prominent like listening source, keeps putting her in every single like day list or playlist. Like she's in every song, but I'll be like, oh, this is pretty sick. And then my last honourable mention is Fred Again with 10 Days. I love Fred Again, and it was like a very like long-awaited album for me. Like I was keen for him to drop it for ages, but I also felt like by the time he dropped the album, majority of the singles had been released anyway, so it didn't really feel like new music to me. I felt like I'd kind of heard everything, but still good. So yeah.
Shout out Fred Again.
Shout out Fred Again.
You have a lot of history with Fred Again.
I do have a lot of history with Fred Again. Thank you, Fred Again.
Segue. Well, you almost segued into it perfectly with, I think an interesting topic to bring up is the consumption of music. Especially in the context of albums, I think is very interesting because we live in such a single heavy society, and I get it, right? Singles are always better to introduce yourself to new fans. Albums are usually better for the fans you already have. I don't know if that's just my opinion or not, but it's kind of something I think is kind of well known enough throughout the industry. And I think the evolution of how people have, consumed music over the years, from CDs and cassettes and stuff to LimeWire and Napster to streaming now is very interesting, because maybe I saw this on TikTok, or maybe I was reading an article about this, but typically every 10 years there's a major shift in how people consume music. Do you have any like thoughts on kind of what the next thing could be?
Interestingly, not so much about what the next thing specifically is going to be, but I agree that things are due to change any second, even with the potential ban or the ban for a day with US TikTok. And I've been chatting to a couple of friends who are quite like prominent in that space, and just about how it had been 5 solid years of TikTok, which is longer than we've had with anything else. Like when you think about, as you say, how things have changed, and like I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like talking about singles and streaming, I feel like with streaming platforms, certainly personally, it's making us lazy consumers. Like I crack up. Spotify Wrapped last year. I got the little, like, you know how you get like a little like a personal tile, yeah. And mine was, you're the playlist creator, because I like make heaps of playlists apparently.
Yeah.
I really actually don't think I make that many at all, but in comparison to the normal person,
yeah,
I guess I probably do. But I let the algorithm do a lot of the speaking these days, and a lot of the work for me. It kind of just suggests music.
I think it's going to go into. I mean, it's already heading that way, because I think from music streaming in general to finding your own songs, to going onto Spotify playlists that were already curated for like a specific vibe, now it's going more towards AI suggested based off what you listen to already.
Yes.
Because I also was told that Spotify are going to try to phase out those curated vibe playlists and go directly towards curated for the person. So like your new, like your release radars, and your new music dailies or whatever from whatever platform you use.
That's crazy,
because it's all AI driven.
Yeah, and I mean it's like social media. The algorithm changes so quickly. You could listen to Gracie Abrams. You could listen to 5 Gracie Abrams songs over a week, and then that's all you'll get.
That's all you're gonna get
for ages, and you've got to like untrain yourself. It's like sometimes I laugh with Ollie if we will put on like rain noises or something at night because we can't sleep, and then my Spotify thinks that I want to listen to like frog sounds at night. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm into. I think you're right. Like I think algorithmic, like AI prompts and stuff will definitely be the future.
I think it's either that or are people going to revert back to physical media. Because I think how long has it been? Since 2008?
Quick math.
How long is that? 16 years ago? 17 years ago? Record sales and CD sales have actually been steadily increasing every year. I don't know what the stats are of the past 5 years since like Spotify has really popped off, but I can see more people wanting to have tactile things that they can have forever. Especially now that a lot of things you need to license. You know, like you buy like your Netflix subscription, or not like subscriptions. So you buy your Netflix subscription, but if you can't pay for a month, then you get no Netflix. If you can't, I mean, Spotify's good because they still give a free version.
So true.
But, you know, eventually what happens if like, you know, there's like some mass electromagnetic field and like it wipes out the internet? Then what?
I think about this all the time.
Because you want to be able to own, and people want like ownership of their stuff. And if you buy a CD or a record, you have that forever unless you sell it.
The fact that I'm stuck paying like 20 subscriptions for the rest of my life, don't even talk to me about it. Don't even look at my Apple iPhone cloud storage. I like exhausted cloud storage a year and a half ago and just refused to upgrade because I'm not paying $16 a month. Like, nah. But yeah, no, I agree. And I feel like physical merchandise becomes a collector's piece, right? We have so many records and vinyl at home, but it is really funny, and it's actually kind of sad to even think about / talk about, because we don't play them anywhere near as often as we should play them, because I don't often these days feel like listening to one album in its entirety. Which is kind of sad. Like I'd rather just pick my 4 favorite songs from that album and then play another 4 favorite songs from another album rather than play them all out.
And I think that goes back to the idea of the way people consume music. Like I guess back in the day you couldn't really have on-demand singles. Like you had to buy the album to be able to listen to your favorite songs.
So true.
So then you had to listen to the rest of the album. But now you can just pick and choose what you want. And I think the art of listening to an album in its entirety is lost. Even though to get the deeper dive into the artist or any of your favorite musicians, that is the best way to really understand the story they're trying to tell, what they're going through at the time, or you know, the message they're trying to convey. Like every now and then there are albums I go back and listen to all the way through because I'm like, damn. Oh, okay, here's actually moving on to something different. I saw a TikTok and it was 2 people asking, do you ever listen to new albums on shuffle?
Playlists on shuffle all the time. Albums, no. I'll go top to bottom because I feel like that's how it was designed to be listened.
Exactly. I think it's criminal if you listen to albums on shuffle for your first listen, especially.
Like, go to jail.
Yeah, like, you will just, like, they were put in that order for a reason.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know?
I agree.
You don't get the full story. Like, I guess you just want to, like, listen to all the music, but you could just do that, like, in the intended way.
Yeah. Speaking about music consumption and, like, things changing, and it's quite topical at the moment, but how do you feel about posthumous music?
Oh, gosh.
It's a big topic.
Oh, gosh. Posthumous, just, like, music in general, like, albums specifically.
Music in general, kind of the concept. Posthumous, also, guys, being, like, music released after an artist has passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am very on the fence. I lean towards not liking it because I think, in general, it's quite exploitive.
Yes.
In the context of an album, it's really hard to know what the artist would have wanted if they're not there.
Yes.
Even if they had recorded it and put it into that order before, if you're going to release it 5 years later, you don't know if that would have been the way they would have done it.
Yeah.
I think it's mainly a way to make money off of a tragedy from labels because they know people are going to miss them. They know people are going to listen. Like Mac Miller. Balloonerism dropped, what, like a week or two ago. I love Mac Miller.
Yeah.
But I think it's really difficult for me to listen to a Mac Miller album knowing how tedious he was with his music, especially albums and vibes and styles and, you know, the storytelling of it all.
Yeah. Although, interestingly, I feel exactly the same. I feel like it's not right. I'm kind of like, I don't want someone else to speak on behalf of the artist.
Yeah.
Anyone other than the artists themselves, really. But I kind of looked into Mac Miller and balloonerism, and basically when Mac passed, he had a will that kind of outlay everything that he owned and who it was going to, like down to, like, you know, jewelry, cars, everything, but also down to the rights of his music. And so his music is now looked after by his estate, which is primarily run by his mum and his brother. Yeah. So you've got to think that those are two people in his life who, like, have his best interests at heart and know him best.
But his mum and his brother aren't him.
They are. You're right. They're still not him.
How do they know how he would have wanted it to be?
Yeah, it's
especially
a very
10 years after he's died.
Discussion. No, I agree. But then I know you really like SZA, right? I really like SZA as well. She features on one of his new tracks in Balloonerism, and she because it also was released on what should have been his 33rd birthday, and so she came out when it was released and said, "Happy birthday," or something along the likes, like, "You were one of my first friends when I moved here to LA, I'm assuming. Thank you for always believing in me and seeing in me what other people are now only finally seeing." But she was like, "Go stream Balloonerism right now, listen to this music." And when I see stuff like that from someone who was so clearly so close to him, I'm like, oh, it must be legit. But you're right, even she doesn't know. But it kind of makes you feel a bit
like, I get
icky,
it,
right?
And I get, like, if it were to be anyone to decide, it should be the estate, it should be the family.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is just me. Maybe, like, I have, like, an internal bias of not being able to listen to new Mac songs because he's dead, and, like, having that kind of bias towards it all. Deep down, I'm a Mac fan. I've loved pretty much all of his albums since kids, right? Yeah. That was, like, I grew up on that music. It's an interesting thing to talk about, for sure.
It is. And producer Will said yesterday, just randomly in passing, that the artwork for Balloonerism is creepy.
Yeah, he doesn't like it.
But I also read that apparently Mac commissioned that piece of art. But I don't know how all of this works. Like, because as you said, he passed so long ago. So, I don't know.
It would have been a long time ago.
It's a real big topic.
Also, most posthumous albums are bad.
Yeah.
They're usually so trash.
Yeah, and that sucks that the artist's legacy is being continued after they're gone with something that's not as good. Yeah.
Let them rest. Let their legacy be what their legacy is at that point. Stop trying to profit off them.
I agree. It's like Anderson .Paak's Tattoo.
Yeah.
What does that say? Something about
yeah. What other posthumous albums are there? Are we counting Circles as a posthumous album, by the way? Because it did come out after he died.
I think you probably have to.
But he did make it with the intent of it being a continuation of Swimming.
I found Anderson .Paak's Tattoo. So it says, "When I'm gone, please don't release any posthumous albums or songs with my name attached. Those were just demos and never intended to be heard by the public."
This is exactly how I feel, though.
Pretty, like, blunt and
it's pretty blunt and honest about it.
You know how he feels about it.
I don't know how other people would have, like Mac. I don't know what his thoughts were. I don't know if he ever made it public, but I agree. Like, if you're just putting a bunch of incomplete demos onto an album and it's like, oh yeah, this is what Mac was working on at the time, or this is what X was working on at the time. It's like, dude, they made it demos and didn't release it for a reason.
Yeah,
they clearly didn't like the songs, or they didn't like, I don't know, something about the songs. Otherwise, they would have released it.
Yeah.
Album release predictions is also an interesting topic to talk about for 2025. I hope these three people all drop albums because I'm fans of all these people.
Okay, hit me.
First, Rihanna. Hot take. I don't know if she'll ever drop an album ever again, if I'm being realistic.
Yeah.
She's a mum now, obviously of two.
Mm-hmm.
There's all that stuff A$AP Rocky going on right now too. So I hope she drops an album this year. My only reasoning behind why she would is because it would have been like 10 years since she dropped her last album, Anti, right here too.
Gosh, it has been a while actually. Yeah, when you think about it. Yeah, wow.
So it would have been 9 years.
Crazy.
Oh, is that 9? Yeah, 9. My second one is Justin Bieber.
Yes.
I hope he drops a new album. I know bro's been going through a lot past few years.
Yeah.
But that surely just means he has a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if he'll ever drop music again.
I have seen this like massive surgence on TikTok and social media about people begging for a Justin Bieber Eras tour.
Justin Bieber Eras tour?
Basically like what Taylor Swift started
like
going through her eras of music. Can you imagine? And he opens with Baby. And it's like, dun,
the best Justin Bieber album of all time is Journals. And will always be Journals.
Yeah, okay,
Justin Bieber in his light skin era.
Yeah.
The Clavius Bieber, bro. That's my goat right there.
Yeah. That's so you.
And it's also been 4 years since he dropped an album as well. Justice came out 4 years ago, so it's been a long time.
That is quite a while. Okay.
Number 3 is Drake.
Oh yeah.
Purely because of the beef last year.
Yeah.
Kendrick has been boying that guy. Kendrick dropped a great album. He's got to follow that up with a great album if he wants to keep his reputation up.
Okay. Yeah.
That could be a hot take, but that's kind of my own opinion.
Okay, nice. To be fair, I feel like I've like had a really good few years with music and who I personally want. So this is more, I guess, things that I've observed and people that I know that are working on albums. Lorde, I feel like she's overdue. Yeah.
That's actually a great shout.
And that would be really cool. And I know she's working on something, so hopefully it comes this year.
And was the last one called again? Solar Power? Or was that just a song?
Solar Power, yeah. That was the
album.
That
wasn't the greatest Lorde album ever.
Wasn't my favorite either.
The first two,
yeah,
great classic albums. Melodrama, one of my favorite albums of all time.
Melodrama, one of my favorite shows I've seen of all time.
Oh, really? I've never seen Lorde live.
Sick. Oh, Shaden, you call yourself a Kiwi. Come on.
I also haven't seen Lord of the Rings, so I'm kind of.
What do you have against Lords?
I don't know why I just dropped that. I've got to get fucking roasted. But yeah, that's actually a good shot with Lorde, because I'm pretty sure she is working on new music too. I've heard through the grapevine.
Yeah, I think she is too. Another artist starting with L, working on another album.
Who?
Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because she just had that song with Bruno Mars.
Yes. Yeah, wasn't my favorite.
No, neither. And did you hear the new snippet for Bruno Mars' next song?
No.
Oh gosh, I'll play it to you after.
Oh really? Okay.
It's wild, bro.
Oh no, I think I've seen it, and people are like, go back to singing about like flowers and grenades.
He's talking about lady parts, bro.
Yeah, like cats and non fairy sense.
Nah, that is what. What happened to I would catch a grenade for you?
Yeah.
What happened to you're amazing just the way you are?
Exactly.
Bruno, what are you up to?
Bruno. This is all very pop based, actually. Chapel Roan. I feel like she's probably going to come out with something soon.
Didn't she just release an album not too long ago?
Yeah. What was that? Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess?
I'm not sure. I'm not the biggest Chapel.
You're not the biggest Chapel fan?
Knowledger.
Okay. And then in the pop realm as well, Taylor Swift.
She just released an album.
Reputation, Taylor's version. So she's re-recording slowly all of her albums so that she owns the rights to it.
So not a new album, just an old album.
A very badass thing. Yeah, it's a re-record of her own music. So it is now her own. But yeah, she's been teasing it for like literally a year. Every time she does.
We don't need another Taylor Swift album.
Arguably we do.
No, we do not.
I would argue that. And then who else did I have down? Tate McRae.
Again, she's been dropping some singles.
I feel like she's like
Sports Car,
coming
the
out of
last
nowhere
one
too. Yeah.
She's been
been in the game for a long time, but her like every time she drops.
She's in her like pop baddie era now.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she's doing
I love that.
kind of like Madonna-esque from back in the day, or like Britney Spears-esque from like the 90s and 2000s.
That's a good comparison, actually.
Because she was making like
Minus
indie lover girl stuff. Now she's like doing her dance shit.
Pop princess. Yeah. And then in terms of like artists or albums being released this year, like that it's not a conspiracy theory, but the theory that when artists feature on Coachella, they then release music like not long after. And I think it's all...
Is that a real thing?
Yeah. I mean, it's not a proven thing, but it's like a lot of people look at the trend. And I think it's because they get featured on like one of the world's biggest festivals, right? And then they want to capitalize on the exposure that they get. So they release music very shortly after. That makes
sense. Frank Ocean, where's your album at, bro?
Frank Ocean
never dropping any more music, bro. Frank Ocean never dropped music again.
Yeah. Frank Ocean,
hot take. I know we're not doing hot takes right now.
Dropping music.
Here's my most boiling sun level heat hot take.
Yeah.
Frank Ocean is so overrated. I look directly in the camera. Frank Ocean is overrated.
Let's talk about the first concerts we've ever been to. We've talked a lot about like laneways and festivals and stuff, but what's your like first memory of a live experience?
Like one that I was like, I want to go to this. Let me buy a ticket.
I feel like mine's further back than that, maybe. But yeah, I guess that probably is.
People outside of New Zealand will not know who this is.
Okay.
It was Dane Rumble.
Oh.
And when I lived in Whangarei...
Absolute legend. Yeah.
Dane Rumble came to Whangarei for whatever reason.
Yeah, love it.
I don't know why. It was an all-ages show. I don't know why. Maybe he did separate ones.
Yeah.
But I remember, how old was I? Maybe like 10 or 11. And I was like, yo, Dane Rumble, he's the cool guy. Like, I'm going to go to that. And then I remember begging my mum to buy me a ticket. I think it was like $40.
Okay, I love that.
Which is kind of expensive for that time.
It
that was
is
like
actually
15 years ago. Like 17 years ago. $40 for a local act ticket. He was like one of the biggest acts in the country at the time, I guess. But that was the first one I really remember like begging to go to.
Yeah, nice.
To like ask my mum for money.
What about like if you wind it a bit closer to present day? What about your first R18 kind of concert? Do you remember what that was?
It was our Rhythm and Vines. I don't know if that counts as a festival. 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
I graduated from high school and then I went to...
That
was actually the one that Mac Miller was supposed to be at.
Oh, no way.
Mac Miller was supposed to headline that that Rhythm and Vines.
I can't even remember.
But he cancelled Australia and New Zealand because of... I think it was burnout.
Right.
And I think now, in hindsight...
Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020, right?
Gosh,
is obviously there was probably a lot of mental stuff going on.
Yeah.
He did come back though.
Yeah.
He did come back eventually, and I think he performed at Logan Campbell.
Crazy.
I want to say Logan Campbell. Maybe it was Power Station. I can't remember exactly. But he did come back, and I didn't go, and I regret that every day of my life now.
R&V is like a rite of passage for New Zealanders turning 18.
It really is.
Yeah, I bet they've always put on such heavy lineups though, in like stacked, lots of good talent.
I went to the R&V purely for Mac Miller.
Yeah.
And I left like because RL Grime was there.
Yes.
I think who else was there? Golden Features was there.
Oh
Angus and Julia Stone was there.
Yeah.
Young Lean was there.
Yeah.
Like in hindsight, like a lot of artists that I did enjoy listening to a little bit later on, and I don't know if that was purely because I saw them. Oh, Goldlink was there. You guys remember Goldlink?
Goldlink, yes.
Yeah, Goldlink was there. He was sick.
I feel like I saw him at Lane one year.
Ocean. Oh, was it Ocean? No, Sticky Fingers.
Yeah.
Sticky Fingers was there. I saw Sachi for the first time there.
Yeah, so.
Shout out Sachi. And I think one of the first acts I saw, I can't remember what day it was on, was Diaz Grimm. I don't know if you know who Diaz Grimm is. This is like a deep take. Shout out Diaz. He's my homie now, so shout out Diaz.
How good.
And it's like a massive full circle moment.
I love that.
I don't know if I've ever told him this story or not, but he was like one of the first acts I saw that I continued to listen to after. Yeah. And I think he moved to Canada after.
Sick.
And I was like, yo, Diaz Grimm, oh my God, listen to this dude.
That's
and now
so
he's the
cool.
homie, so it's like a crazy full circle moment.
I love that.
Yeah. Shout out Diaz.
Shout out.
What about you? What is your first?
My first concert that I have like a vivid memory of was Op Shop, the band Op Shop at the Topor Town Hall.
Topor?
Yeah.
Did you live in Topor at the time?
No. We must have just been there for the weekend. And I remember I went with my little brother and my parents dropped us off and they like alerted the people working at the venue to like look after us, basically. So we had our own little seats, and I just remember like the lady who worked there, like standing at the side of the rows, just kind of like keeping an eye on us the whole time, like we were going to go anywhere, like we're sitting stationary, like we were so much.
How old were you?
I don't remember how old I would have been, but
was this like a literal child, or like were you like a little bit older?
Probably like
teenager?
12, 13 kind of. I did try to Google it the other day, and I can't find anything. So
this is all a figment of your imagination.
Did I make this up?
This didn't happen.
Probably.
Whatever happened to Op Shop? Off topic.
Well, it was. I think Jason Kereson's still doing his own music.
Is
he? Yeah.
Because he did go solo for a little bit, right?
Yes. I know he plays for, like, he fills in for other bands and stuff randomly. But I was old enough to be quite into like Jason as a human, and I got
as opposed to what, an alien?
I was old enough to be obsessed with a personality rather than just the music, you know? Like I was into him. I liked Jason, the frontman.
Yeah.
And I got my CD signed, but I was also young enough to be like petrified to ask.
Yeah.
So my dad had to stand with me.
I still get scared to ask people for their signature sometimes. I'm 27.
And then my memory of an R18 concert. I don't know if this really counts, but this was my first R18 concert. But don't tell anyone I had a fake ID. I know.
I'm calling the police.
Only because I had an annoying birthday where I turned 18 in the first 4 months of the year. Like the first 4 months. I didn't turn 18 until April is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. And so that meant that when I started uni, I was 17, and all of my friends, I know, what a loser, eh? All my friends got to go to town and all week and stuff, and I was just like, cool, I'll just sit here by myself. But I didn't sit here by myself. I got a fake ID so that I could join in and do fun things. But I went to Fall Out Boy at the power station.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
They did the power station?
Yeah, it was
surely there would have been a bigger act than that.
But you know what's embarrassing? I had this like camo crop top, and I can't even remember what the lyrics were, but I like hand painted Fall Out Boy lyrics on it. It looked terrible. All my friends were bigging me up. They're like, "Yo, Danny, that looks sick."
Danny, you look sick, bro.
That looks so cool. I looked so out of place in the mosh pit. I remember accidentally falling over to. They started a circle pit. It was like the first time I'd ever seen anything like that.
Yeah, I bet your mind would have been blown, bro. Mine
it was. That. But this is why I still love this genre of music. The second I fell over, there were like 5 people who were pulling me up straight away. Yeah. And I came home and I had like slightly bleeding knees, and my mum was petrified. She was like, "You're never going to a concert like that ever again." I was like,
Fall Out Boy.
Mum, I think I just found like a new lease on life that I'm never not going to like circle pits ever.
Will's been taking me to a lot more heavy shows recently. Like last year, I think I went to like 3 or 4 with him. And like the most crazy one was the Antagonist AD one, hardcore band. Those mosh pits were.
I have heard that was
so wild. I don't know if that's just like if that's tame for it, because like obviously I haven't been to many shows.
Yeah,
people can educate me on like the craziest mosh pits they've ever seen.
Yes,
but I don't. Just people were having literal fights. That's what it looked like.
Yeah,
and that was sick.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I
loved that. It was so good.
But they have a fight and then they'll probably turn around and they'll be like,
"Yeah, but it's all good, bro."
Yeah.
Because okay, going back to Travis Scott. I don't know. We haven't even talked about this side, but last episode we were talking about Travis Scott. Those mosh pits were so trash. I know. But I don't want to like go too hard into it, because I think the reason is a lot of people were like younger. There was a lot of people who were like 12 through 18 that was probably their first concert they've ever been to, and they didn't really know how to act
yes,
or like mosh
the
properly.
Etiquette. Yeah. I also think that Travis, maybe also another hot take, I feel like he plays into the whole thing, and like the cricket noise is a prime example.
That was so weird.
He played crickets for like an hour and a half before a show, but I feel like he does that to rile people up. Like it's part of his persona. I feel like he eats that whole thing up, right?
That was the most random thing, because I remember being there with Will and Mikey. Shout out Mikey who got us those tickets, by the way. It was us 3, and I was just like, are those real cricket noises, or are they playing it through the PA?
Yeah.
And I think we all did was coming through the PA, because everyone heard them.
Yeah.
I was like, why would you do that?
I know.
Going on like Travis Scott last year, did you have any? Because you went to a lot of gigs last year.
I did go to a lot of gigs last
year. Did you have any favorites that you into?
Again, that's like trying to pick a favorite child. When I posted like a little wrap up, I mean, I don't have kids. Like, I don't know what that feels like. When I posted a wrap up, someone commented and was like, "And now pick." I was like, oh, no, that's so hard. I find that so hard. I do think a standout, I mentioned it in the last episode, but Blink 182.
Yeah.
That was like my artist to see, dead or alive. I fulfilled that last year, which is a pretty amazing thing. And they were like at their very best, like at peak Blink level. They just blew me away. It was so cool. Their banter, their music, everything was top notch. And then the Fred Again show. Like, I really think that was an amazing show. And I feel like what he did for the music industry last year with his hype culture and generating hype and dropping things with literally a week's notice and selling out in like a stadium show or an arena show.
And also,
it's crazy.
I think the best thing to come out of all those Fred Again shows was him putting Messi on.
Yes.
Another actual, like, friends.
100%. Shout out Messi.
Yeah, Messi's sick. She's been in bands.
Awesome.
She was in Mikey's band for a little bit too.
Oh, man.
The way it happened was just so awesome.
Yeah.
Just like a random, like, oh, I have to submit, but like he will never pick me.
Yeah.
And then he picks you.
Yeah.
And now you're
I know.
touring around the world.
I know.
And now you're playing Glastonbury. And now you've performed to 35,000 people in Perth.
Such a cool story, and couldn't have gone to a cooler person. Yeah. Messi's sick. Yeah, and then just like Fred Again's production. Like, I was talking about this with someone the other day on how it's such a simple thing, but the portrait monitors.
Yeah.
You know, you go to a concert and majority of the shows that you see until now are landscape LED screens. That's kind of the orientation of how they fit in a stage or above a stage, because a stage tends to be like long this way. Fred Again went one long skinny portrait LED screen. But when you think about the way that people film and consume these days, it's like this, right? So I don't know. I think that's so smart, because he kind of designed his whole stage show to fit within the orientation that people now film.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many shows I've been to where they've had like portrait LED screens.
Yeah. I've seen it all of a sudden pop up within the last year since Fred's show. I've seen it become more of a thing.
I reckon Fred was the champion of that.
Oh, I'm sure there were. I was just going to say, I'm sure there were artists or shows that were doing it pre-Fred.
Yeah.
And if there are, and you know of them, let us know. But for me, that was like a real like click moment. I was like, damn, that's smart. That's so smart. It's so simple, but it's so smart. And I mean, I could talk for ages about Fred Again. That's his whole marketing ploy, right? He has a degree in marketing. He was always going to be great at it, but he really makes you feel like he's authentic and you connect with him as a person, and that nothing is actually thought out.
Yeah.
But there's so much thought to it. Yeah.
It's like effortless marketing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very, very clever. So yeah, I'd say those were two standouts, Blink and Fred Again.
I don't know who mine would have been, to be honest.
Yeah. What about you?
I also did go to a lot of gigs last year. I think I might have to do like a top 3. I really enjoyed Make Them Suffer. Mm-hmm. That was a really nice gig. Shout out producer for taking me to Make Them Suffer. That was cool.
Yeah, nice.
Well, he was my most watched artist last year. Sam V, local guy, king of R&B. I love him. he's one of the best performers I've seen.
Nice.
He just knows how to interact with the crowd, and his sets are always amazing.
How many times have you seen Sam? Like
last year, 6.
No way.
6 times just last year. Well, I tour managed for him. Okay. So I don't know how much of that really counts, because I work with him.
It counts.
But 6 times is still crazy. 3rd, maybe Vanna. But again, she's a friend, so I've seen her perform like 4 times last year as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna go with those guys. I can't off the top of my head think of who else I even saw, to be honest. I think I went to like 35 shows last year. I'm trying to hit 50, so if anyone wants to invite me to a show, please DM me.
Can I have a late submission to best shows for last year?
No, guys.
It's closed.
Yeah.
You probably would want to close this one off. Taylor Swift.
Oh gosh. No, you know what? I respect it, because even as a Taylor Swift hater and a Taylor Swift non-believer, not that I don't believe she has a great audience. I just don't believe in her music. That's kind of rough. She's like the biggest artist ever, but not ever. That's another conversation we can have another time. But you have to respect it. Yeah. Because she did Melbourne Cricket Grounds, which is 100,000 people, And she saw it 3 nights.
3 times, yeah.
Like, there's not many artists in the world who would be able to do that. So at some point, you just got to take a step back and just, respect.
And 3.5 hours long every night. Like, that is a crazy set. Crazy set. And not to out my husband, sorry, Ollie, but we went to Melbourne. It was purely for me and the girls. There were a couple of us friends that all went, and he tagged along to Melbourne just for the ride. He's a huge music lover, never been into Taylor Swift, really.
Yeah.
Appreciates her stuff, but that's as far as it goes. And we were really lucky. The night before, we were already in Melbourne. They released $60 obstructed view tickets, and
to Taylor Swift.
And he and one of the other partners at the time of the girlfriends that I were going with, they managed to nab $60 obstructed view tickets. So they got like, when I say obstructed view, their seats were literally behind the stage. So they couldn't see the actual stage, but they could see the screens.
Crazy.
I know. They could see the screens on the other side of the stadium. So they could still see a whole lot. And she has this massive big LED like catwalk.
Yeah.
He could see the whole animation and stuff, whereas I was on the floor. I couldn't see anything on the catwalk.
Yeah.
So he actually got a pretty decent view of a lot of the stuff.
From behind the stage is crazy.
Behind. $60 is
not bad.
I don't want to tell you how much I paid for my like GA floor ticket.
It was probably like $600.
Yeah, it was about $400.
Jesus.
Worth every penny, in my opinion. But I asked Ollie, he's like a metal lover, loves every music. The next morning, his auntie texts saying, we're all dying to know how Ollie found the concert. I turned to him and I said, honest opinion, what's your review? Tell your auntie, how did you think? And he said, that was unreal. He said, hands down, one of the best concerts I've ever seen. He said, if anyone ever tries to talk shit about Taylor Swift, I'm going to tell them that they're wrong. So yeah, it's pretty unreal. I do feel like it's one of those shows / artists / tours that we're not going to get another one of that caliber in our lifetime. Watch this space. Hot take.
Oh, that is a hot take. That is a very hot take. You don't think if Beyonce went on tour right now, she'd do the same thing?
Oh, here we go. Beyonce versus Taylor Swift.
Well, I put this on my Instagram story like a month ago about... We could do a whole segment about this, but between who's more famous out of Taylor Swift and Beyonce.
Taylor Swift, hands
and
down.
Beyonce won on my poll.
Really?
Yep. I think about 150 people voted as well, so it's not even like a couple people.
But what was the percentage?
It was like
75 one and 74 the other.
It was like just like maybe 10% more to Beyonce.
Interesting.
But she also Taylor Swift also got swept by Michael Jackson in the poll before that. So, but we can talk about that another time.
Really, Beyonce?
That's
won?
a whole podcast.
Okay. If you're listening at home, let us know in the comments. Who is bigger, Taylor Swift or Beyonce?
At their peak.
Anyway,
we're rambling on.
So
We're rambling on.
We're going to leave it here. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. Goodbye.